We all think we know the story of the dodo. In pop culture, this fat, flightless bird from the isolated island of Mauritius has become the ultimate symbol of evolutionary failure. We are told it was a clumsy, dim-witted creature so oblivious to danger that it practically walked into the cooking pots of hungry sailors. Even its name is heavily rumored to stem from an old Portuguese word for simpleton or fool. Its legacy is defined by a single cruel assumption that the dodo was an evolutionary mistake whose extinction was entirely inevitable. But history is written by the survivors, and in the case of the dodo, the stories left behind were deeply flawed. For centuries, our understanding of this animal was based on contradictory sailor journals and exaggerated sketches. Because the dodo vanished before modern science even understood the concept of extinction, its true nature was completely lost. It wasn't until a groundbreaking discovery in 2005 that the Earth finally yielded the hard evidence needed to clear the dodo's name, revealing that almost everything we thought we knew about this bird was wrong. Humanity's relationship with the dodo was brief and destructive. European sailors first made official written contact with the bird in 1598. Dutch expeditions described an island filled with large, ground-dwelling birds that showed zero fear of humans. Because Mauritius had no native mammalian predators, the dodo had never evolved a reason to run away. While sailors noted the meat wasn't particularly delicious, a single bird provided a massive amount of food for a traveling crew. Just 60 years later, the dodo was completely gone. The last widely accepted sighting occurred around 1662. Because Western science at the time didn't believe a species could actually vanish forever, no one documented the exact moment of its departure. By the early 1800s, the dodo had been gone so long that naturalists in London began treating it like a myth, questioning if the creature had ever existed at all. All that remained were a few mismatched bones scattered across European museums. In 1848, researchers at Oxford published the first major scientific paper on the dodo. They concluded that this bizarre, grotesque bird was actually an oversized, flightless member of the pigeon and dove family. At the time, the scientific community openly mocked this idea, unable to accept that a majestic dove could evolve into something so supposedly clumsy. For over 150 years, the pigeon theory sat on the shelf, unverified. Then came 2005. A team of researchers excavating a coastal swamp on Mauritius struck scientific gold, unearthing a massive bone bed containing more than 200 dodo skeletons. For the first time, scientists had an abundant, undamaged collection of physical evidence to analyze. The swamp paints a radical new picture of the dodo's life. The layers of earth revealed that the dodo did not live in a sheltered, lazy tropical paradise. Instead, Mauritius was an ecosystem defined by extreme climate instability, characterized by violent cyclones and brutal, prolonged droughts. When scientists examined the dodo bones under microscopes, they discovered lines of arrested growth. These lines act like tree rings, proving that the birds regularly survived periods of intense environmental stress and resource scarcity. The dodo wasn't a fragile mistake, it was a highly resilient, tough survivor that had successfully adapted to a volatile island ecosystem over millions of years. The 2005 discovery also allowed anatomists to reconstruct the dodo's true physical capabilities. Rather than a slow, bloated waddler, the dodo possessed an incredibly robust skeletal structure. Its leg bones were thick and highly muscular, perfectly engineered for navigating the steep, rocky, and mountainous terrain of the Mauritius forests. Furthermore, endocasts of dodo skulls revealed something even more surprising. They had a brain-to-body ratio perfectly consistent with modern pigeons, which are highly intelligent birds. Crucially, the olfactory regions of the dodo's brain were exceptionally well developed. It possessed a world-class sense of smell, which it used to forage for fallen fruits, nuts, and bulbs hidden deep in the dense forest undergrowth. Modern genetic testing finally vindicated the 1848 Oxford researchers, confirming that the dodo's closest living relative is the Nicobar pigeon. How did a flying pigeon transform into a 40-pound ground dweller? The answer is a classic example of evolutionary island gigantism. Around 4 million years ago, a flock of ancestral pigeons crossed the Indian Ocean, using emerging volcanic islands as stepping stones. When they finally settled on Mauritius, they found a paradise rich in food and entirely devoid of predatory mammals. In the world of biology, flight is an incredibly expensive energy investment. It requires massive chest muscles and a constant caloric intake. Without predators to escape from, the dodo's ancestors made an evolutionary trade-off. They grounded themselves, redirecting their metabolic energy away from flight and toward body mass. Over generations, their wings shrank, their bodies grew bulky, and they became the undisputed, peaceful kings of the forest floor. If the dodo was so well adapted and resilient, why did it vanish so quickly when humans arrived? The classic narrative blames human hunting, but the reality is far more insidious. The dodo's true vulnerability wasn't its lack of speed or smarts, it was its reproductive strategy. Because they evolved in a world without predators, dodos laid only one single, large egg at a time. Worse, they laid these precious eggs directly on the ground in open forest nests. When European ships docked on Mauritius, humans didn't just step off the boats alone. They brought an army of invasive mammals, specifically pigs, dogs, and ship rats. These introduced species spread across the island like wildfire. The rats and pigs systematically raided the ground nests, devouring dodo eggs and defenseless chicks before they ever had a chance to hatch. The dodo didn't go extinct because adults were hunted to the last bird, it went extinct because an entire generation was eaten in the cradle. The story of the dodo began as a tale of human carelessness, but its final chapter has yet to be written. Today, the dodo is no longer just a warning from history, it has become the primary candidate for a radical scientific frontier: extinction. Armed with perfectly preserved DNA recovered from museum specimens and a precise understanding of its ecology, geneticists are actively working on techniques to reconstruct the dodo genome. By editing the DNA of its closest living relatives, scientists hope to eventually hatch a living dodo chick, returning the species to the forests of Mauritius. The real story of the dodo is a powerful reminder of how easily the truth can be distorted by history. This remarkable bird was not a biological failure, but a masterpiece of island adaptation that thrived through centuries of natural crises. Its only mistake was encountering a force it couldn't possibly evolve fast enough to fight: the rapid modification of its home by human hands. As we look to the future, the dodo stands as a symbol of both our past destructive power and our potential to heal the natural world. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe as we continue to uncover the true stories of life on Earth.